Okay, we good?
Partisan's fine.
We good? Jason, do you need in the malt box? Jason's going old school. He's going to put his mic up here. Good, we got it? All right, thanks everybody. Here are the Senate Democrats.
You gotta do whatever you gotta do whatever you want. Well, I wish I was here at a happier occasion at the end of session and realizing some gains for the people of Missouri. First, I want to say real quick that what a great group of people we have here. What a great group of senators. Amazing people that you have standing before you. And this is the true definition of senators right here that's standing here. What we saw today was the Republican supermajority, whether they did it because of corporate greed or their corporate overlords telling them what to do, they took away sick pay from millions of workers in the state of Missouri. They took away sick pay from millions of workers in the state of Missouri, and they just did that right today on the floor. They also put in place, or try to put in place, a ban that'll go back to the voters that will say a 12-year-old raped person of incest would have to go get a note signed by their rapist within a 12-week period in order for that person to get an abortion. That is exactly what happened on the floor today. It's sad. We tried to negotiate all session on these issues, and at the end of the day, they decided, and that was best. They again turned down the will of the Missouri voters, the will of the people of what they wanted, and they've decided, these 24 Republican senators decided what they think what's best for Missourians, even though they voted for these issues. It's a shame. There's not much more I can say. All my caucus is open to any questions you may have, but that is where we are.
What do you see as the likelihood of success if the governor were to call a special session on his stadium proposal?
All I can tell you is that we were given options to continue on. We're not doing that. And from this point forward, if I have anything to say in it, everything is going to be so hard around here. It's going to be very hard.
Where did you leave things with the sick leave negotiations? Everyone kept saying you're close, and everyone on both sides of the aisle was saying goalposts removed. What happened?
The goalposts were never moved by us. And it's all out there now, I'll just tell you. So we were at a point, unfortunately, when we're dealing on that issue is the people voted for sick pay. And what we were doing was giving some back, a little bit. So we were taking away from what they voted for, right? And I hated that. Every fiber of my body did not want to do that. We did it because we wanted to get as many people sick leave as we possibly could, earn sick leave. Earn sick leave, we're talking about people that are working so they can go see their kid when there's a kid at school or pick up their kid or whatever the case may be that they need to do and still be able to maybe make that mortgage payment if they have it or rent or their prescriptions or whatever else. That's all we were trying to do. And we got to a point to where they agreed with us. They agreed with us. We were putting it in writing, and we got to the point to where it was a business of 10 individuals. And what they said afterwards they said it was 10 full-time individuals. That would exempt entire industries, right? And we said, no, that was never that. The facts you gave us, the sheets you gave us, everything was about 10 employees. So to say that we moved goalposts on anything is not right. And I stayed silent on this because I always thought we could get a deal on this, but that is not the case. They moved the goalposts, and then after they couldn't get that narrative to stick with everybody in this building, because everybody in this building knows what happened. Sorry, I'm yelling. I'm a little upset. Since they couldn't get that narrative to stick, then they told me, well, they were too tired and they didn't know what they were doing. They were too tired and they didn't know what they were doing. If I would have said that to them, they would have shut it down right now. That's a fact of what happened there. We gave them numerous things on that bill.
Was there any one senator who was too tired? The Senate President Pro Tem, perhaps, we kept hearing that she was the problem.
I'm not going to sit there and personally attack everybody. Look, this group here, we work. This group here, we have to work for everything we do in this building. These guys get stuff handed to them. Their bills are handed to them. They go, all their work's done for them. That's how this place works. A lobbyist gives them a bill, they go do their stuff. We have to work for everything we do here. Everything we do here, we have to go through all the motions. We have to go talk to senators. We have to build relationships. We have to do all that work. So we never get tired. We're ready to go. We did a 50-hour filibuster last year. We did a couple of 10, 12 hours. It's not a big deal to us because we work. They don't know. They don't know how it is to work. And they're going to find out.
So, did you feel like Governor Kehoe was trying to help forge some kind of compromise on both of the issues that we saw tonight?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know where his hand came in on that. I have no idea.
So obviously, Prop A and Amendment 3, both voter-approved amendments, taken, overturned by people that were also elected to be here. How do you explain that discrepancy? It's a very familiar trend in Missouri where there are progressive policies that are passed, but also people who disagree with those policies that are elected. How do you explain that message to voters?
Well, I guess what I would have to say to voters is you know, they want these issues, and then they never make the politicians pay that take them away from them. And until that happens, nothing's going to change. They're going to keep doing it. If they make these decisions, then nothing happens to them. If they don't lose their seat, if they don't lose this thing, then it's going to keep happening. And that's it. If there's no price to pay, and I mean in a good, in a way where you get unelected, then it's going to, that's it's going to keep happening.
To follow up on that, what does that say about the Republican Party's respect to the will of the voter, that they passed these measures in November?
Disrespect.
They have no. There's 10 senators. Yes, disrespect. They disrespect the voters. They don't care. They don't care. We've heard time and time again on the floor that the Republicans say that the voters didn't know what they were voting for. We've heard them say that time and time again. They didn't know what they were voting for. That is not the case. Everybody I talked to knew what they voted for.
Mm-hmm.
So so moving forward, come 2026, and we will continue to hear this message, perhaps from Republicans of they didn't know what they were voting for. What message do you have for voters so that they go into the ballot box and they're going to make a decision for themselves when they hear all this noise around them on both sides, that they leave confident in their vote?
And that's a problem too, and that's an issue too, that people feel like their vote doesn't count because they do these things, and then this body here, the Republicans come here, and then they overturn that will of the people. So that is a problem in itself, and hopefully people don't lose heart and they continue to vote and do these things. They're going to have another opportunity. Basically, Republicans have now are putting another ban on abortion. That's what they're doing.
I guess, and just to tag up on that, when you have two ballot measures that the legislature came back and
Republicans came back.
The Republicans came back and overturned in a sense, or at least we're getting there. Do you think this is going to stop people from voting, or do you think this is going to fuel people to vote? Because if they think they're just going to overturn it anyway, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Is it worth even going to vote? Is what I'm saying is, like, do you think there's going to be that attitude that we need to get the word out about to make sure that?
Of course, yes. People should vote. We need to vote. And when people don't vote, we see what happens. We need to vote in all elections, and we need to look at what these people stand for. We need to look at if you like the policy, maybe you don't like the person in it. There's again 10 Senate Republicans here that Prop A overwhelmingly passed in their district.
Regarding Proposition A, it was passed as a statute change instead of a constitutional amendment. I think that's the last time that's going to happen, considering the very next session it was repealed.
It kind of proved a point. I mean, the same Republicans here complain about how we always people are trying to put things in the Constitution. Well, you just seen why. You just seen why, because they try to overturn what the people did statutory. I mean, we could have nibbled around the edges, and we could have done that. We could have made it implemented. We could have addressed every one of their arguments, but that wasn't what it was about. It was overturning the entire thing.
There are 10 new members this year. There will be 10 new members in 2027. Will Democrats have any trouble defending their seats, and which seats do you think you might pick up?
I mean, there's 3 seats that we can look to pick up. We'll definitely defend the seats that are vulnerable on our side, and then we'll also have some safe seats, so I hope to pick up seats.
Why do you think Republicans included the transgender language in the HCR 73?
Because their idea is bad. And the only way they can get it to pass is they have to throw something out there, which we call ballot candy. They have to get the people thinking they're voting for something else. And that's the reason why they did what they did. They didn't even mention that they were repealing reproductive freedom. That's not even mentioned in their ballot points. I mean, it's in our summary. So if you go look at our summary that we receive here in the legislature, the first thing it says is they're repealing it. But they don't even put that in there. Isn't that a little dishonest? Isn't that a little disingenuous?
Are you preparing for a campaign that, obviously you would not be running the campaign, but is this election is that idea of this is somehow banning gender-affirming care, do you expect that to be a Republican argument to get people to vote in favor of this campaign?
You know, I'm sure they will. I mean, that's the reason why they're doing it, because their ideas are bad. You know, they're banning abortion. They're telling a 12-year-old rape victim that they're going to have to go to their accuser and get a signature to get an abortion. I mean, excuse me, their rapist to get an abortion. That's what they're doing, and they have to do that in a 12-week period. I don't think the general public's going to like that. I just don't, and that's why they put in these other things. And so then we spend time, and that's unfortunate, because then you spend time attacking that community, and that community gets attacked, and then people do things that they, you know, that I don't want to see happen. And we have those people that are marginalized anyway, and they're going after them. And it's unfortunate that they do these things simply to get some sort of ideology to be able to control women.
Are you anticipating this issue?
These are not, I mean, if you want to ask anybody else a question, you
No, yeah,
feel
this is
free.
whoever. Is anyone anticipating lawsuits regarding the language on this, considering it doesn't say that it is a ban? You know, there was lawsuits on Amendment 3 back then. Are you anticipating something similar, efforts to rewrite the language brought by the legislators?
Yeah, I would assume there'll be, you know, I mean, there's several things wrong with the abortion ban for sure. Yeah.
Senator Washington, you gave a detailed history of the Kansas City Chiefs and their movement from Dallas to Kansas to a potential special session on a stadium bill.
Although I did speak very highly of the Chiefs and the Royals and to keep those stadiums, a special session just for that should not override the will of the voters that was done today, and it shouldn't override the things that we lost in House Bill 19. So I'm one of those people, I believe in the greater good, and while the Chiefs do bring a significant economic impact as well as the Royals, the greater economic good is to put a hospital down in the rural parts of our state, is to make sure that we have obstetrics care north of US 36, to make sure that we get the $48 million that we still need to do the mental health hospital in Kansas City. So those things are more important to me and to my colleagues than the Chiefs. I love the Chiefs, there's no doubt about it, but and I've worked at the NFL, and I don't think that's a secret, but at the end of the day, we have to listen to the will of the voters also. Remember, Jackson County said no. So they have an opportunity to put that back on the ballot to make a decision as if Jackson County wants to come to the table. But a special session that's only for the Chiefs, I think we've got to come together and evaluate that. What is best for Missouri is 6.2 million Missourians, and we need to make sure we're taking care of the most vulnerable Missourians, and a lot of that was in House Bill 19.
Senator McCreary or Lewis, back on.
I think that if this was going to happen, attempting to undo the will of the voters relating to reproductive health care, I'm glad it's happening now rather than next year, because this will give, you know, Missourians a chance to get educated, and it will allow grassroots people to hit the doors, educate people, that kind of thing. So there definitely will be a campaign like no one has ever seen. And, you know, a lot of us were born before Roe versus Wade was decided in 1973. And I cannot believe that we're going backwards. We are going backwards as it relates to women's options for health care. And it's unacceptable. And we will ultimately secure the right of women to make their own health care decisions. And that's what Senator Lewis is all about. It's all about the health care part of it.
I've nothing, go ahead.
If you have something to say.
I don't have anything. I think the senator did a great job.
The last two times that significant progressive liberal items have been on the ballot, or attacks on progressive liberal issues have been on an August ballot. Right to work in 2018, Medicaid expansion in 2020. There was a massive increase in the number of Democrats who showed up for the primary. Didn't translate much in November. If that's the case, if they put this on in August of next year, how do you get those extra voters who may show up for the primary out in November?
Well, our leader said it best, which is the Missouri voters are smart, but they're still, we all of us, including our grassroots supporters, need to do a better job of connecting a politician's votes on something versus what they vote on as it relates to issues. Like there is a disconnect there, and it's going to be our job, but every Missourian's job, to make sure that we are continually talking to voters to make sure they see that connection. Senate District 15 is the perfect example. In Senate District 15, the voters overwhelmingly supported Proposition A and Amendment 3, but that senator was a part of the PQ on both of those. The voters in these districts need to realize that their senator does not respect their wishes. He's happy to take their vote to get into the Senate, but then he will turn around 5 months later and stick a knife in the back of his own constituents.
And we need to put the list out there.
So, if there's
Issues, Prop A, Amendment 3, these are issues that affect people. That's what we want to see in a special session.
Can I jump in right there too? And I want to be really clear. Obviously, of session, I want to be abundantly clear. There was a path today to get that stadium financing done. We had a very clear path to get that done, and it was the Republican supermajority that chose not to go down that path, and it is because of them that priority of the governors is not completed today.
What did that path look like?
As we said all along, we had put everything out there on negotiations. We were willing to do everything. It came down to making sure that we were being honest with voters when it came to amendments that were being placed on the ballot. And to us, it is non-negotiable to lie to voters.
What if you get, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
So quite simply, there was a path. Many people knew of that path. I think, again, we had so many options there to get there, and it is because of the Republican supermajority that we do not have the stadium funding today.
Stadium funding was obviously brought up yesterday. Would it have had smoother sailing if the House had decided to pass 19 on Friday?
I honestly, as we had the conversations, I think there's so many different factors here right now. I think Senator Washington said it best. I mean, 19 and the House decision there, I think a couple people of House leadership, Dirk Deaton and perhaps the Speaker and floor leader, I think they permanently, or at least for the foreseeable future, ruined the appropriations process and the trust that is needed between the House and the Senate. In terms of 19, a lot of us in the General Assembly right now want to make sure that we get those projects funded. These are the projects that we are all here for. I think our minority leader spoke so well to that. We are here to serve the people. We are here to serve Missourians. When you look at House Bill 19, whether it's our 200-bed hospital behavioral health bed, so we don't have Missourians sitting in hospital emergency rooms or in county jail cells, that they can actually get the psychiatric help that they need, that's what we're here to do. So we are more than willing to have those conversations to make sure that we pass that funding bill.
Senator Denberg, the lightning with abortion and Prop A is still.
I think there's a lot of things that it could have been done better. I think everybody can attest to that. Again, so I don't want to talk about hypotheticals. I have no idea what a special session will look like, but I hope that we have a smooth, or I should say, let me start with, I hope we have a transparent process moving forward. And what I can say right now is what the legislative process looked like before today and now after what you just saw happen in the Missouri Senate are two very different things.
I was going to ask that with Senator Weber or Senator Beck, but Senator Beck.
Yeah, I think people want leaders, and they elect leaders, and the Republicans to not step up and provide leadership today. And so much of this building is built on respect, respect for somebody. It's bigger than that. This is big. American democracy is built on respect. Our system of government is built on respect. And we talked a little bit about, when I was talking on the stadium, some of the norms that have changed over the years. And I think what you saw today was a lack of respect, not just, not for senators, sure, but for the voters of this state, the people that went out and gathered signatures, the people that went and voted, the people that expressed their policy preferences. It was just a complete lack of respect. And so, moving forward, we're going to operate with an assumption that the Republicans don't respect their fellow senators, they don't respect the voters, they don't respect the process, they don't respect the institution. And we didn't pick this fight, but we're not scared of it.
If you can get some of, a stadium situation.
I would say,
stadium funding.
I would say generally, like, there's no offers on the table. If the governor wants to call a special session, that is entirely his decision. We have no ability to shape what that is or to call that. And so I think for all those questions, we'll deal with them when they come up. As of right now, there's nothing on the table, so there's really nothing to comment on.
How do you plan to address your constituents when you return back to your districts in regards to HJR 73?
Yeah, like the majority of the state supported Amendment 3 and supported abortion rights for Missourians. They supported sick leave for workers. They supported raising the minimum wage. And so it's my job now to spend the next 7 months in the interim before we come back to session, going out and holding town halls and going to meetings and making sure people understand exactly what happened. I know a lot of folks are going to have questions. They're going to say, we voted for this. How can they do that? And it's our job to explain to them what happened here today and why, when they collect signatures, and why they follow the constitutional process, and why when they vote and when they win, the Republican supermajority completely disrespects their wishes.
What are you going to tell them when they feel like their vote doesn't matter?
That it does?
Yeah, and a good friend of mine ran for U.S. Senate one time, and he had a campaign slogan that we're not going to change Washington until we change the people we're sending there. We're not going to change Jefferson City until we change the people we're sending to the legislature. And at the end of the day, the people of Missouri need to make sure folks are held accountable.
Senator, you took over what was a red seat as Senator Rowden left. Can you help other people that are campaigning in other districts as we look into 2026 flip some seats in the Senate?
I'm going to try.
Thanks, everyone.